Welcome back to the Volly House Podcast, episode
32.
32.
Moving right along.
We're here at Colca Studios, so if you're looking to get a firehouse built anywhere on Long Island, reach out to them. Also, we got Ryan Mackey on the sticks. He's been on the sticks past few episodes, so shout out to him. Be sure to give him a follow at Max_visuals. Check out his work.
Ooh.
Also, download the Firewire app, available on iOS and Android. Go to volleyhousepodcast.com to ask us questions or send in stories or videos you'd like us to review. Also, give us a follow on all social media platforms at Volly House Podcast. And we will kick this off with iCommand Board.
iCommand.
Every video we see from a career department incident shows an incident command board on scene. Yet, in many NIOSH LODD reports, a recurring finding is the lack of proper incident command. As a chief in the volunteer fire service, your responsibility is to ensure the safety of everyone operating at every incident. Gone are the days of managing this in your head or on a simple whiteboard. The owner of iCommand Board, a volunteer fire chief, took this challenge head-on by developing a professional tool tailored for volunteer fire officers. These command boards are designed with size, affordability, and most importantly, accountability at the forefront. Packed with critical information and checklists, they're built to help you stay organized and focused at every event. Visit iCommandBoard.com today and take the next step in ensuring the safety and success of your department. All right. Big day today.
Big day.
Summer's over.
Summer's over.
Getting cool, man. You got to put a sweatshirt on now.
Yeah.
NFL kicks off
Time
tonight.
to grow my winter beard.
yeah, Phil's beard's me down to his dick.
Over.
Yeah.
I love it. Football and hockey.
Football, yeah, hockey be starting up
Right up
soon.
my alley.
So
The pumpkin beers.
good luck to everyone out there that's got their fire department fantasy league starting tonight.
I might go to Stony Brook's football game Saturday. They got a home game.
Against who?
I don't know. Is it Rhode Island? Or
They
something?
so they switched up.
They got a nice stadium over there. What's that?
He goes to Stony Brook. Oh, I'm in the fire department. goes to the ticket counter. I'm in the fire department. Right?
I saw. So they.
I know people.
they switched up something with college football, and what was it last week? LIU, that's your alma mater, right?
Yeah.
They played fucking
The Gators.
Florida Gators, and got absolutely blown out.
Dude,
when I saw it, because I was looking at college football schedule. I'm like, LIU is playing the fucking Gators. I knew they were fucked because on Google, the Gators had like their logo.
That's how they get
next to
money.
it. Yeah,
they
I know.
usually go up against a tough team in the beginning, just set it, but they get money for that.
Yeah,
So it's a builder for their team.
but that's like,
I don't know. So I graduated in 2019. That switch from, because LIU was D2. I played lacrosse. I didn't play football. I was D2. 2018, they switched to D1. But the conference, like, they didn't always verse the Gators. Like
that's what I'm
Florida.
saying. The conferences were
Yeah.
changed.
I saw that too. My college group chat was blowing up. They're like, what's the over under on this?
Yeah.
Like, how much are we putting on
I would
this?
say you got to put 1,000 on LIU just in
See
case they have that breakthrough.
catch, that guy from Miami, the one-handed catch.
Yeah, I
with
saw
the end
that.
zone.
Sick.
That was awesome.
Yeah, that shit.
Sick catch.
It's crazy. I mean, LIU, the thing is, football's a sport from more south.
Oh yeah,
Like,
dude,
this
you go
is
to the high
lacrosse.
school. The high schools down there have like
Yeah.
fucking stadiums.
Well, you go to like Texas.
Yeah.
I remember when I was deployed to Texas, we were staying at a school, Angleton High School. The football field out back was insane. Even basketball, they had a competition gym for basketball, and then they had the regular gym. Nobody's allowed in the competition gym.
That's interesting. Well, it's funny you mentioned
Like,
lacrosse.
They're big, but they had a whole football wing with
Yeah.
their own gym, their own locker rooms, old
yeah,
shop.
it's
It
crazy.
was just for football.
So they started lacrosse was always big up here, like New York, Maryland. It's big, Northeast. But recently, the schools down south, started recruiting the football players to lacrosse teams. So you started seeing these new, lacrosse communities starting getting built up down there, and they're really good.
They're big into the football down. Friday Night Lights, baby.
Yeah. All right, well, let's get into suspended or not.
Have we been getting, my inboxes have just been crazy.
When are you getting your glasses, Phil?
You know, I was actually wearing glasses in the car on the way here because the sun was bad.
Yeah.
I get like an instant headache. That's why I don't wear them, because I get a headache from wearing sunglasses.
Well, maybe they got different ones that hold the nose differently.
Yeah.
You could check them out on frontlineoptics.com and use code VHP15 for 15% off. So this one was submitted. A chief with an ego decided to hire a company to paint a parking spot for himself at the firehouse. During the night, a few members came down and painted over his parking spot to get rid of the lines.
That's pretty funny.
So
Did they get caught?
Well,
at the department meeting, the chief told the members to confess and that they have it on video, which these guys knew that he didn't have it on video. But he just wanted to get guys
depending on the
confess.
department and the structure and like the district, the chief and the members have no say over the grounds.
Right.
Like, wouldn't that be more of a DM issue?
Depends
like
on
a
the
district
department.
issue, how they run their
Yeah,
place.
I mean, if it's a fire company, then the chief is technically in charge of his fire company
Yeah, they
and the
said
grounds. Some, not everywhere. You know,
they wrote that
some have
the-
their own trustees, but the trustees, you know, but
the
it
other
really just
the other chiefs
depends
didn't
on the
have their
structure.
own parking spots.
There's a lot of departments that have spots for chiefs.
Oh,
or
yeah, for sure.
officers, or member of the year, you know,
Yeah,
or
I've
something
seen
like
that
that,
too. Or the
or top
senior- senior man.
responder, senior man parking, you know, and some of that I think is really
handicap parking.
some of that I think is really it's good. It's a nice gesture that when you move up or wherever you go, that you know, especially like senior member parking or something like that. You know,
Yeah.
no, I'm not looking for that, but I think it is pretty nice that they look at people and say, "You're the top responder. You deserve a spot up front," or
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
whatever the situation is. I think it's pretty neat.
So if that happened to you as a chief, you got your spot painted.
I'd be pretty pissed, but I don't think you know.
Where was that at? Do you know?
I mean, that's an easy
no idea.
easy
It was
correction.
it wasn't from here though.
Have the members fix it. Be done with it.
Paint
So
back
yeah,
over.
the end result was no one fessed up and they were never caught.
I mean, if it was like damage to something, it would be a little different. I mean, it's not really
Maybe that was an old
damage.
story. No cameras or anything, unless it was.
No, there
somewhere-
was. Apparently, they shut off all the fucking lights.
So you couldn't
And
see who they were.
Yeah, so the chief
Masked
said
up,
that they.
gloved up, and then they went in.
Yeah, pretty much like crooks.
It's pretty funny though.
Yeah, it is. It is a good one.
But was it truly like an ego thing, or was it just like?
Yeah, they
you know,
said that the chief kind of thought who he was, type deal, and thought he was special enough to paint himself a parking space. But the other chiefs didn't have parking spaces, so one of those things. So I think they got him good. Job of the week. We actually got a submission.
there was a lot of jobs actually.
Oh, yeah, I
is-
saw that email.
Yeah,
What
this
was
is
it?
outside of Long Island.
Wow.
Gorham, New York.
Where is it?
Gorham,
Gorham.
New York, had a warehouse fire. Seemed to be a chemical company with contents fire that spread to the structure, and they had a neighborhood lockdown was issued
Because of the chemicals.
because
Yeah.
of chemicals.
You know, sometimes you got to weigh out what's important here. Like, is it better to just let the chemicals burn off into the sky, or actually have runoff that can go into the ground and contaminate?
I tried-
That's something you got to really think about.
I tried looking into the story. I couldn't exactly tell like what chemicals they were, but definitely looked like a big fire. There was a
Burnt the whole warehouse down.
yeah, a guy sent the
Wow.
video, and I looked at the video link.
What was it? A pool place?
No, I don't know.
It was just chemicals. some
Yeah,
sort
I'm
of
not
chemical?
sure. That's what I was trying to look and find, but I couldn't.
Yeah, that's something like the incident commander or the chiefs, or if you're having a unified command, like talking to the representatives of the warehouse or the the people in charge, like what's better off here? Are we going to contaminate rivers, streams, and everything else, or ground contamination, or is it better to burn? Like even with some of these derailments, there's sometimes certain things
Yep.
you want to let burn off instead of contaminating the environment or the water. So that's, it's one of those, it's like everything else when we do risk versus reward, like you're trying to figure it out and what's the best strategy and tactics for this particular incident. And one of those things might be just let it burn. It
Right.
really just depends.
Another one in, I think it was Lakeview, New York, upstate. It was a golf cart mechanic shop. So this is funny. In New York
Is it
City,
all batteries or?
New York City Firewire posted it because it was I guess, early reported lithium ion fire. massive warehouse, crazy freaking runoff and whatnot. Later on, the post got 1 million views. And then later on, I think it was Lakeview, New York. I don't know what the fire department was. They posted that it actually wasn't lithium ion. There were some smaller lithium ion tools and such, but it was mostly just like golf carts and like synthetic materials. And it got like...
Do you remember years ago, Smithtown had the one at the golf course? It was the golf cart. I remember I was actually over here in
Landing
the
or
industrial
Stonebridge?
park. Stonebridge.
Yeah.
And I get the mutual aid call for it, and I remember coming out. It was right around Halloween. I was at like some costume shop up here. Come walking out, and the sky was just completely black with smoke because it was literally right over there. But yeah, those things, they fucking go. They go.
Yeah. So that post got crazy attention, and it ended up not being like a true lithium ion fire. Like it was just like all this, synthetic shit.
Right.
So they put out a post, and they were like, some of these larger Facebook pages post things that it's not that it wasn't true. It just wasn't, categorized as lithium ion fire.
Right.
That's a hot topic.
Speaking of another, we just briefly talked about this before, job of the week, but that video of that fucking car jumping Sunrise Highway. And for people that aren't from this area, Sunrise Highway is, I believe, 3 lanes, right? Is it 3 or 2?
I'll post
Depends
it
on
on
where
right now.
depends on where you are on Sunrise.
Yeah, so it is, you have a few lanes going eastbound,
3 in one way, 3 in the other,
3 going
or
westbound,
2 and 2, depending on
divided by
huge divider.
huge divider. And a video Phil said he's going to post it on
I'll put it on
our story, but this car literally launched and like hopped over. How many lanes is it in that video?
This is a shoulder, a lane, and I don't know if it landed on the other side of the road.
Yeah, I don't know which department
Figure
got
almost
called
6
to
lanes.
it, but good God, that thing was fucking flying.
Well, Gorham had one a couple of years ago. The car launched in the air and landed in the second floor of a private house.
Holy
It went
shit.
right through the wall on the second floor.
That's crazy.
But yeah, driving real fast and went off the road and just launched. It went up like a embankment and just
Jesus.
take off. And
Oh, wait,
they've
was it
been
today?
in trees too. Like cars get caught in trees and.
Right,
Are you prepared for that?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
rescue.
it was yesterday. Yeah.
There was a
post
fire
it.
yesterday in Wisconsin. They had an attic fire.
Yep.
Came in as an attic fire. Pretty good job, but the solar panels were burning on the roof, and it might have even started from the solar panels. I don't know. They're doing the investigation, but pretty good attic fire. Burnt part of the roof off, but it was going pretty good. But,
Wisconsin?
yeah,
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
That was
our
yesterday.
guys went to that. Engine went.
Yeah. So, and then Hampton Bays had a little fire out east. There's been a bunch. Hempstead had another job. There's been some work around.
Yeah, I think Deer Park did as well yesterday. the
Yeah, I
day
think Deer
before.
Park had a job. Yep.
Yeah. No, it's been
quite a few.
busy. And speaking of which, drill of the week. We're starting to get into the chillier months, if you will, now that summer's over.
Well, we should be prepping for winter already, and we kind of wait. I think we mentioned this a little before, is don't wait till the last minute to be prepared. Now's the time to gear up. The farmers out there and stuff, right? They spend all summer getting ready for fall and winter. And they spent all winter and everything getting ready for spring and summer,
Yeah.
So, start thinking about these things. Yeah, snow's not coming tomorrow, but, there are certain locations they get snow in October and November.
Well, I'm thinking in terms
across the
of,
country.
and I know for whatever reason we just continue to beat this over the head, but you're gonna have people starting to fire up their oil burners soon, their
Well,
heat.
you're going to have the CO alarms, you're going to have the puffbacks,
puffbacks, CO alarms coming through. So
the wood burning stoves, they forget to open the flues, you get all the. But,
I would say
that's
too,
all
like-
stuff to prep for. You
Yeah.
should be checking that stuff out, inspecting.
right
get
now
your
though
burners.
is prime time hose drill time because it's
Good time.
not too hot. Just get that shit out of the way.
You want to know something? You have one of those wood burning stoves at home, like one of those Vermont casting type ones?
I have 2 stoves.
Yeah.
I heat most of my house with wood.
Yeah. My dad has, Vermont castings. He does wood and coal. I had moved out of my house like 3 years ago. like the week after I moved out in November, the week after it got chilly, so he started it up. My brother woke up in the middle of the night, my house full of smoke. And I was like, and he's telling me this like a week later. I'm like, what? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, yeah, I woke up. The house was completely loaded with, it wasn't like black smoke. It was just smoke because the flu. I don't think it was, I don't know what it was. I think.
Well, you could
even
get
on a windy
two.
day, you can get
Oh no,
a
actually,
downdraft.
You know what it was? It was the lining of the
I was just going to say,
of
that could get
the-
caked up.
Yeah.
The problem with that is
Creosote.
that's when you start getting the embers in there. Mm-hmm. That's how you get the chimney fires.
Yeah.
If you don't get it
So
swept.
he's telling
Creosote.
me that. That's right
Creosote.
after I moved out. And I'm like, if I would have woke up to my house loaded with smoke, I would have started screaming. I would have been like, everyone get the fuck out.
You're
You're
supposed to be a fireman. Relax. Be like, calm down. It's all
Well, no,
good.
I would have been screaming for everyone to get the fuck out of bed.
Stay calm.
Get out of bed. I'd be jumping out of second
But,
floor
this is a
window
good
for no
time,
reason.
if you have
right.
wood burning stoves, stuff like that, have it cleaned out. Prep it for winter so it's ready to go. You're not waiting to the last second, and then when it's cold, all of a sudden you're lighting this thing up, and now you're getting these problems.
Yeah.
You got to be prepared.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Shall we get into some topics? We got a lot of
We got a lot of we always
submissions
got
here.
a lot of stuff.
Did we say drill of the week? Oh, I'm going to the Nassau Fire Academy soon. We're going to that, right?
Nice. Good. They burn
October.
hot.
Drilling?
Yeah,
Drilling?
October. Yeah, we're
I
going.
just saw somebody else was just there from Suffolk, went out there.
What are you guys
remember
doing?
I think it's Garden Apartments,
That's a hot one.
which is the
Yeah,
good
it's a
one.
Yep.
I'm waiting. Suffolk's going to get theirs built at some point.
Really, Garden Apartments?
Yeah, they're waiting for it. Yeah,
We got plenty of them.
yeah.
So these topics all submitted. So this one is new construction trends. Are trusses as bad as we keep saying, or do we just not want to update our tactics?
Well, they're bad, and it's not just that; it's everything. I mean, there's so much stuff, and I don't want to say it. I won't say it. Things are changing very quickly in the fire service world and in
Good
building
save,
construction. But you do have to consider what the issue actually is with the truss. So a lot of times these fires we have are contents fires. It's not the structure on fire. In especially wood frame buildings, right? It's a bed, it's the microwave, it's the kitchen. Eventually it's going to break through that sheetrock and everything else and get into the structure. Then we have a problem. But the initial fire, when we're getting there, is usually a contents fire, unless it's electrical in the wall or an attic fire like we in Wisconsin had. Then it's a little different. But where are the trusses that you're worried about? That's what you got to start to consider. So if it's truss and it's insulated in between all the trusses, it's contained by sheetrock where it's fairly safe, it's going to take a little longer for that to heat up to start to fail or give you a problem. Now, if you have a basement fire with exposed wooden trusses, that the fire is immediately impinging on the trusses or wooden I-beams or anything else down there, different story, because now you're looking at that quick window of could be 5 to 10 minutes that the truss will fail, or even a wooden I-beam. So really depends on where the fire is, comes back to situational awareness, comes back to size up and figuring it out. Now, there are homes that are renovated. They're changed, right? It used to be old construction, but now there's new construction in it. Like my house has a mix. So you really have to be concerned, and did they do the right thing? Did they seal up all those openings when they ran the electric through? Did they seal up all the openings when they put the plumbing through? So it really is going to depend on where the fire is, how big the fire is, and is it really a problem? But yes, trusses can fail. I mean, even a open web steel bar joist, steel that you see in, when you go to Home Depot or in a building like this, we look up, right? You could see the open web steel bar joist, Q decking on top, that's the roof. If that's immediately exposed to that heat, it's, especially any steel, it will start to elongate, it'll start to twist, bend, or anything else, which could push out the walls off the columns and everything else, and you could have a sudden failure. So it really depends. Now, this is a sprinkler protected building, so hopefully the fire will not get hot enough to start exposing those trusses fast. But we always have to have a concern. But like I said, you have to do a good evaluation and size up to determine if the trusses are actually exposed to that heat.
So, for instance, like residential buildings, you got the new like gusset plates that are They're like
Oh, they're just stamped in.
on.
I mean, I have videos in.
Talking about those, it's like almost like a big staple where it's like
It just
Yeah, and it's got,
basically
like, a bunch of
it
spikes
compresses
on
it,
it.
so
Yeah.
it basically puts pressure on it and pushes the gusset in there. But they're only in there, a quarter inch.
I see those.
Yeah,
Or
where the
less,
original
an eighth of an
ones were
inch.
like steel, right?
Yeah, they're still steel. I mean, they have some other ones. They have different types, but
Yeah, like the newer.
I mean, they dump that stuff off the back of the truck. A lot of times they're loose, and then they just kind of nail it back on and hope it sticks. Or the contractor will throw a couple nails in it to try to help
I
it.
see that. I've seen when I used to do electric work, messes. You
Oh,
don't, even know,
yeah.
you don't want to know what's above drop
Yep.
ceiling sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in buildings where they literally cut the truss out because they wanted to put a loft in to make more access and headroom. And I'm like, you can't do this.
Right.
This is, and I say it, you got to be a firefighter every day. Wherever you go, every building you walk into, you should be sizing it up, take a good look. Like even here, right? You take a look, you see what's here. I mean, it's all wide open. You go in the other room, right? They got ceiling tiles. You can't see.
can't see anything.
You can't see what's there. So wherever you go, you go into restaurants, you go to dinner, you go into the
What's
supermarket.
Kindorf made out of? Is that steel?
What's that?
Kindorf? Like all this
Yeah,
shit?
it's steel.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's steel.
Yeah, that's
but it's
steel.
like it's like gold.
Yeah,
Maybe
well,
coat it with something.
some of it's galvanized. It really depends on what you're using and how you're using it, But now, how is that Kindorf held up,
Yeah.
right? So
Well,
most
this
of the
looks like it
time
goes
it's going to
through
be
the joists, yeah.
it's going to be like a threaded rod or something that goes up to the I-beam or something. Now, is it clamped on the I-beam? Is it drilled in the I-beam? There's so many factors to these things, but they can hold a tremendous amount of weight. But what happens when we start heating it up?
Well, that was the
Right?
thing.
Even
like,
drop ceilings, they're supposed to be tied back with wire, right? The wire.
yeah.
But how good is that once it's exposed to heat? That stuff melts right off.
Oh,
Right.
that wire. Yeah.
But what
So
you
in
mentioned
some places
before-
they have to be tied back to a lot stronger stuff than just that wire.
What you mentioned before too about like one of the key things with the trusses heating up, with the heat they expand, and they're usually right into the walls, and you're going to start to push out on where that's secured into the wall.
Depends on what it is. Like I said, type of truss, what's going on with all of that.
Not really sure what that noise is.
What's that noise?
It's probably a
I thought it was a vacuum.
I
but
think
it's
every
not.
week we get some different noises in here.
Yeah,
We got
either-
music playing, whatever.
this guy fucking whistling.
Yeah, it really depends. I mean, the trusses, when they have those gussets on there, right? They start to peel back basically from the heat, usually from the edges. And I have pictures of some at fires where you see it's like partially ripped off, or one side the gusset's off, the other side is just hanging, but it's still there. Truss didn't
Right.
fall down.
Right.
It's still staying in place. But we have to have concerns, and as things move forward, we're going to see a lot more changes. They're trying to build, in some areas they've already changed the code where they can go up to 10 stories with a wood frame structure in certain areas. You got some of these hotels, like these Hilton Garden Inn and stuff, 6 stories, wood frame. And then you got the metal C-joists and everything else that's out there. So we're seeing things change, and we use a lot of lumber. That's our go-to to build in America. And, you look at a lot of these wildfires and why we're burning homes down is because they're all built with combustible materials. Like, when do we start building things more out of block and brick and, tile roofs where it can sustain some heat if there is a wildfire?
Right.
I was at Six Harbors in Huntington the other day.
Great place.
They're building a big, not exactly by Six Harbors, more closer. You know where Bar Petit is?
I think so.
On
yeah.
Gerard Street. I think it's Gerard Street. Big, I guess it's apartments. I saw a news article. It's 5 stories and it's all wood. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, damn.
Yep.
And it's all like all that new synthetic shit that's all pressed and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Well, that's the thing.
Well-
the press stuff it gets
Yeah.
gets a little tricky.
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
because
I
you
mean,
get heat
you could have
inside of it.
You could have glue lambs, right? Glue lambs have, they're glued together, and fiberboard and, these wooden I-beams and, they're now making 2x4s and stuff out of that composite material. It's out there. It's not in the code up here, but it's around. I have pictures of it.
I get a
it's,
little-
yeah, they're
little
making
dicey.
2x6s and 2x4s out of compressed lumber. So it's like, what's next?
Right.
What are we
whole
going to deal with
house.
next? And, sprinkler systems are good. They are a help. They're meant to hold back the fire and keep it back from extending. But sprinkler systems can get overwhelmed.
A lot of the new wood too is treated with fire resistant shit.
Some is, yeah.
Like, but all that.
But some of that's even dangerous to us in the smoke. And
I feel like
everything else.
once the temperature gets hot enough, it's gonna burn, and then it's just gonna be burning some synthetic shit.
Everything will burn at some point.
Yeah.
Or fall apart.
Yeah, I was picking up 4x4s with my dad. He's building a fence, and he's like, wash it. He's like, don't touch your face. He's like, if you look, the wood has shit all over it, all the freaking stuff. And he's at Home Depot. He's like talking to someone. He's like, I'm building a garden. He's like, I don't want to put chemicals in my soil. He's like,
Right.
He's like, what do I do with this? And
Yeah.
I don't want to use pressure treated crap and everything.
So my wife came home the other day and she's like, "Oh, I got this fireproof bag to put like all documents in." I'm like, first off, that does not look fireproof. I'm like, it's probably fire retardant or
But what's the rating
fireproof.
on it? So, when you say fire retardant or fireproof.
Here's the
or,
rating: you close it with a zipper.
Yeah. So,
That thing is not fireproof.
but that's the thing. When you look at things, there's different ratings. So, you can buy a safe, let's say, that, will give you 20 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour and 15, hour and 20, And the same thing goes for doors and walls and everything else. So, when you buy a fire door, because you need a fire door for certain things like to your garage, let's say, or to your boiler room, what is the rating on that door? When you open a door, there should be a stamp there. It should tell you what the rating is. It's a 1 hour rating or an hour and 45 minutes. And then you got to follow the local code. Whatever the code says, that's what you have to build to.
Right.
So same thing in condo complexes.
But also how many, not that it's all the time, but you're going to have people that are just not doing shit up to code.
No.
I remember we had a guy in Hop Hog years ago, black smoke coming from the chimney, and the neighbors called. It was a problem house. So they let us in the house. We go in there. They're burning like old, I think it was like books and shit like that. They were burning in the fireplace. But as we're walking through the house, you could see all the rooms are partitioned. So like bedrooms that
What
are
street?
that have was on.
I probably know what you're gonna say. Your old neighborhood.
Yes,
Yeah.
my old neighborhood on Atlantic, I believe. Yeah, Atlantic. So like I would say to answer this guy's question, like, yeah, the newer type of construction trends, they're trying to make things easier, less expensive. So they are going to be a problem for us as firefighters. But
It's always
what
gonna be a
Kevin
problem.
said is situational awareness. Understand your building construction. There's going to be parts of your district that have old buildings in there that might be balloon construction. That is a whole different animal when it comes to fire spread compared to, say, newer neighborhoods in your district that have newer materials. So, yeah, I would say everything has its issues and
Yeah, everything
upsides.
does. I mean, you need to try to identify these buildings as early as possible, like when they're being built. If you see something going up, and get it into your computer system so the dispatcher can see it or the chiefs can see it and know that this is a truss building or a lightweight constructed building. And some towns have already adopted that they must have a stamp on it to tell you what it is, if it's lightweight construction, stuff like that. So things will change down the line. You should always be fearful of certain things, no doubt, but make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into every time you go.
You know what I was gonna say? What's good to if you really want to get to know your district, and not every department has EMS, but if you do EMS,
If you do EMS, you see a lot.
You learn all new things about where you live
Oh,
that
yeah.
you might not have even wanted to
we
know.
talked about it one of the last episodes about like that's how you find out the hoarder houses.
Yeah,
You find out a lot of stuff when
Yep.
you go
Like
on EMS runs.
we're separate fire and EMS, so a lot of guys in the fire department, like these guys don't know what you're into, but
Right.
like in Smithtown, you go to everything.
You go on
Yeah.
And like so talking to, like, dude,
And that-
going through these freaking places, I'm like, geez, you don't know who your neighbors are.
That kind of takes us into the next submission we have is does your district/department have a fire inspector or other person who does outreach, compliance inspections, liaison with the fire marshal/building department, or seek out info from residents on special hazards or needs on their property? So I would say, obviously, Hop Hog.
Hop does, yeah.
I know Smithtown does.
We do.
You guys do?
Yeah, we started a fire protection coordinator position. We had a couple of them part-time.
Is it a 40 unit?
Yeah, they were a 40 unit, and they would go out and do our pre-plans and inspections, and they would speak to, the managers and talk to the fire marshals and coordinate it, put everything in the computer system.
It's funny.
Now we have the paid firefighters during the day, so they kind of handle that now.
I don't know if Chief Hansen listens to this, but the first time I ever met him when I was working at
John
Smithtown.
Hansen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw him yesterday.
I go up to him, I'm like 4240. I'm like, you're nothing like 3840, are you? he goes, absolutely not.
Well, to get into that, where we are right now, the studio, we've talked about it a couple times, is in the middle of the Hauppauge Industrial Park, which is the second largest industrial park in the nation.
Largest in New York.
Yeah, largest in New York. There's a ton
I
of
think
shit.
the East Coast, actually. The whole
Yeah,
East
the
no,
East
it
Coast.
is, right?
There's a ton of buildings in here with all different everything from chemicals being stored, complete hazmat situations. So the way it's broken down for people not familiar with this area is we have the township. So there's two different townships that cover this industrial park, Smithtown and Islip. And then Hauppauge Fire Department that covers this particular area has their
Little bit of
own,
Comac,
and Comac too. They have their own fire marshals here that literally buzz around this industrial park all day and break balls. And yes, some of the building owners or business owners get annoyed by it, but at the same time, if they weren't up everyone's asses in this industrial park, we would probably have some serious problems.
The last large fire was in
93.
I think I was going to say either 75 or 95.
93 was or maybe it was
Napkin.
95.
It was a napkin
American
place.
Tissue
Oh, yeah,
Factory.
tissue.
Do you remember that one, Kev?
Yep.
Did you guys come out here for that?
I think we did get called out here.
Yeah, so that was, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they were told by a fire marshal they had to move these big rolls of tissue paper, up against something that was producing heat, and they were told to move it. They failed to move it, and it caused like one of the largest fires on Long Island at the time, which multiple departments from all over the
Yeah,
island
they
were
all
called
over
in.
the island, yeah.
So
That was like the one they had at Stony Brook University.
November 1995.
it was 95.
They had paper storage building warehouse that went on fire. It burned for like 2 days.
Yeah, I mean,
Similar type of setup.
what we were talking about before, and I know Smithtown started doing it recently because there was a lot of like new buildings being made. They just had the apartments that were built on Main Street. So they have a fire marshal that goes around and just takes a look at the type of construction, takes a look at where the fire department connections are, and takes all that information, gives it to dispatch. Dispatch puts it into their system. So when we do get an alarm there, it comes through, and okay, this is where my connection is. This is the type of construction it is. These are the potential hazards.
Yep.
So if you don't have somebody like that, like yours is a voluntary position,
tell you right
Kev?
now.
Or no, you said the paid
we have
guys
the
handle
paid,
it.
the paid firefighters. They're our fire protection
Right.
people. So.
I mean, it is. You probably have to have somebody that's going to go out there as a paid guy to do it.
Here's an example. This was literally right before I got here. Windwatch Hotel on Motor, the Hyatt. Obviously just zone, fire alarm, whatever. But then we have images of everything.
Yeah, you got the pictures,
terrace
too.
ballroom, boiler room, main electric, 2,000 amp, literally everything with pictures. I even have elevator schematics. I have everything.
Yeah.
So you literally got everything.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
need.
not everybody can afford to do that. Not everybody can have a system. I mean, you get one of these like Red Alert or whatever. You can put it all in the system or
Yeah.
SCM ladder, whatever.
generator, generator room, just the door.
But
Yeah.
it's good to know, where you're going, the smaller towns, you should be able to handle that pretty well, is getting somebody out there if you only have a few buildings.
Yeah, I mean,
It really depends on your jurisdiction. I mean,
especially like you're not going to be able to go walk into people's homes. I know, like one of
No,
the
only
questions on
commercial
here was, do people seek out info from residents on special hazards or needs on their property? I've never heard of people reaching out to like residents,
so
but
what
you
we
have-
do is when we send out our annual mailing, we send a form for them to fill out if they want to be put into the computer system.
right.
So we give residents the option. And, you know, we say, you know, do you have gas, oil, you know, how many gallon tank, you know, blah, blah, blah. And it gives you all the basics.
Right. Or you have
know, do you have solar panels? Where are the shutoffs? You know, is there anybody disabled? Do you have any children? You know, like.
Or people
you know,
with oxygen tanks.
Yeah, oxygen
You
tanks.
know.
So any hazards, you know, it's all on the sheet and they can fill it out.
That's a
and
good
like,
idea.
So when we get runs, sometimes it'll come up the person's name. You know, it'll be like, you know, Yos, you know, MOS or whatever next to the name, and then it will list any hazards that are in my house that I put in there.
Smithtown used to send that for members to put their information, right?
Yeah, you could do that.
But that's not just for us. I mean, it's for the residents. The residents can all enter. We send it to the commercial buildings. They can enter it if they want, and we update our system on a regular basis.
Phil and I's favorite hazard was that one house that would come through. It's 2 large cats on premise.
Oh yeah,
They have 2 lynx.
links. Yeah,
Fucking huge cats.
yeah. That's another. That was an EMS case where I walk in. The person had like a big like lion on their front porch, which whatever, people have weird stuff. You walk in, just a section of the house is just plexiglassed off, and there's just 2 like they look like cheetahs.
Do not go in there.
I'm looking at Joe, the paramedic. I'm like, dude. I'm like,
Yeah.
you see this shit?
It's
But,
actually crazy.
you know, you never know what you're going to run into. You know, large dogs in the backyard. Like,
Yeah.
do you really want to start walking around doing 360 if there's large dogs in the backyard? You
Yeah.
know, like, so,
I
you
feel
know,
like
it's good to have some information
Yeah.
on the buildings.
I would say anything, especially like we mentioned, if your department does EMS as well, and you go
EMS
into
is solid because
yeah.
you pick up so much stuff in EMS runs.
Yeah.
Also, you learn just as a first responder, you learn a lot from just because EMS is nonstop. You just learn so much being on a bus. Like,
And that's why I really think it's important. And, you know, it happens in my own department. It happens a lot of places. I mentioned a little bit. The chiefs have to let the members get to the scene, get off the rig, go through the paces, and go walk through these buildings. Even if it's a residential building, I understand you don't want dirty boots and stuff in people's houses, but especially if you see something that you want people to see, let them see it. Commercial buildings, let them walk through the commercial buildings. Where's the compactor? You know, where's the back door? Where is the stairs if it goes to the basement? Where's the access to the second floor? Does it have trap doors? Does it have, escalators? Does it have, you know, anything, any type of ramps? You know, things that you might, or even locked areas that you can't get to. You know, there are commercial buildings in my district that inside there's roll down doors because it's sectioned off. They don't want you to go to certain areas. So those are all things that you want to see and come up with because you got to have a game plan before you go in there.
Oh, absolutely.
there's buildings over here. There's one building, I think it's between Davis and maybe it's like Adams to Davis. I don't know, whatever it is. The building spans 2 blocks. If you look on a map, it's the biggest building in this industrial park. It's Cygen Pharmaceuticals.
Oh yeah.
It is so outrageously large. And there's those there's plastic roll-up doors in different areas. It's a pharmaceutical manufacturing. And there's just like, to walk through, you got to bump a thing and it rolls, you know, it's those super fast roll-up doors, but it just like partitions the place off. Maybe it's a fire thing, maybe it's just
And if you're in older neighborhoods, like, you know, they have fusible links and stuff that close doors or access from one area to the other, like a fire door or a smoke door. Like some of them, when they close, it's very difficult, or you can't even open them. They're like so heavy. Like you need a crank to open them. So, you know, figuring that stuff out and how you're making your access, you know, there's a lot of different things you want to look for and understand. Like, where do we go if I want to roll this door up or need to do this?
Yeah.
So, you know, you need to get out and about and see things.
Yeah, being in the commercial space, you always say this. We always say this. The automatic alarms are like the perfect opportunity to walk through. Like, and you'll see this a lot too. Like, there was a machine fire. I think it used to make like cast steel for whatever. The thing went on fire. It smoked out this entire building. When the smoke dissipated, I was on a hose line. We went in and we put the fire out. It was right inside the door on Motor Parkway. I don't know if you remember. It was not too long ago. After the smoke dissipated, I was like, holy fuck, this building is fucking gigantic. I'm
Right.
like, I just felt the heat because it was right by the door that I went in. But I was like, if I needed to go, like, I didn't have a search rope on me because I knew where the fire was because people were telling me. I'm like, if I would have walked that way, I would have been, there was just shit. It was like a welding, metal fabrication place.
But that's something you got to think about. You know, even in a light smoke condition, you know, people say, I don't need a search rope. It's not too bad. Well, what happens when conditions change?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you could see on the way in, but now you can't get out.
Granted, I was on a
So,
hose line, so I'm thinking
the hose line's
truck.
different because
Yeah.
you can follow the hose line out. But, if you're going in to do a search or you're just going to come off a hose line somewhere, you need to tie a search rope before you go into the building. Even if a light smoke condition, you don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
it starts changing and you don't have one, you better get yourself to a door and get out.
This one was crazy because it was heavy black smoke because it was all synthetic metal, oil, grease, like all this shit burning. But I remember once the smoke dissipated, I'm like, holy fuck, we put the fire out in this room, and if I would have walked that way, I would have went like 500 feet.
Yep.
Yeah, and I would say also too with that, like there's been times walking through an automatic fire alarm in this industrial park.
Two truckies on a deuce and a half on that fire, by the way.
One in
Didn't know how
particular.
that worked.
One in particular, there was a automatic alarm. I'd walked into the warehouse, big stacks, shelving, stuff like that. One completely blocking an exit door. And I went to the building rep and I'm like, look, we're not here to break balls. Like, we're here just to figure out, make sure nothing's burning, but you got to move that. Like, that is a complete hazard, not just for you and your employees, but also for us if there's a fire. And we went back like a few days later and it wasn't moved.
Yep.
So, got to call a fire marshal at that point.
God.
Yeah.
It sucks, but it happens a lot, unfortunately.
Here's another one. What advice would you guys have for younger guys that volunteer and struggle to balance work and family with the fire service? I've noticed an uptick in younger members struggling with this and losing jobs, etc., because all they want to do is be at the firehouse in my area. Thoughts?
Losing their job because
Don't
they wanna
lose
be
your
in the
job
fire?
because you're in the fucking volunteer fire department. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, don't do that.
I've seen that before.
I'm in the perfect situation like this. I'm 28, live with my fiance, got a lot of shit going on. I find time, like drills, scheduled events. I try and be at them every single time I can because the day to day.
Duty crews, too.
duty crews is a good thing, but
It comes back to balance. You got to balance everything out, and it's a tough situation. You have to do what you can. You want to maintain your quota and everything else, but you got to try to balance things out. If you can get some of your members that have younger kids or wives and get them to come to the firehouse and hang out, and you can have maybe one of the wives or one of the members watch the kids if there's any alarms, stuff like that. That's a good way. Like you make your social function around part of the firehouse. But when you look at things, right, your family has to come first, your job has to come second, and then the volunteer fire service.
I think
third.
what this one is getting at in particular is like that's all good and well, good advice, but this seems to be guys that just can't get enough of the firehouse.
Well, when
and
you're young,
continue. Yeah, and,
when you're young, I mean, that's all I wanted to do.
Right, same with
I,
me.
Can you read it one more time?
I didn't always make my college classes because I was hanging out in the firehouse. you
right.
know?
Well, that's kind of what he's suggesting here is
But
he's
it's-
noticed an uptick in younger members struggling with this and losing jobs because all they want to do is be at the
Well, you
firehouse.
shouldn't
in my
lose your
area.
job.
Well, I'll tell you this. When I first joined, I was still in high school, and I wasn't even old enough to sign the fucking paperwork, but we could join at 17, and my dad had to go with me to the firehouse, sit down with the chief, and the chief had said to my dad, well, I want a report card from him every quarter because I want to see that his grades aren't slipping from when he's down here.
Yeah,
because
you could put rules in.
yeah,
to
like guys,
maintain.
it might be a little different though. Like if you have a younger guy that's maybe not in high school anymore or not in college, like you can't really, if you're a chief, you can't micromanage somebody.
No.
Like so. I think that's what he's getting at is like, hey, I feel like there's some guys here that are losing their jobs because they're just too addicted to the firehouse.
That comes with growing up a little bit. Like
Yeah.
you realize, like
100%.
Maturity.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I guess that because obviously it's not everyone that's doing
it becomes
this,
a part of your like. I can kind of relate. When I went to Suffolk Community College, my schedule was leave my house, go to school, go to the firehouse, go back to class, go back to the firehouse, and I'd be home at 11 o'clock at night. But
I didn't want to be home.
once I started
Yeah.
working, I like to make money. I guess that was part of it. But I was like, I felt like part of me was missing because I would spend so much time at the firehouse. And like, oh, now I'm working. I'm like, I want to. It's almost like it becomes a part-time job that you're obligated to be at.
It
Meanwhile,
is.
Yeah.
It is. It's a job.
I would
You can look at it any way you want. It's a job.
I would say too, like, you know, if you feel that you're seeing guys that are losing their jobs, maybe say to them like, hey, if you lose your job, like, you might not be able to fucking live in the district anymore, because if you lose your job,
always
you're going to start
possible,
losing other things like your home, and then you're not going to be able to do
I'd be
this
curious,
anymore.
like, is it maybe younger kids doing little retail jobs just to...
That's what
you
I
know,
was thinking, like, you know, maybe, but like, yeah, like
lost your job at the pizza place because you just stopped showing
that
up.
I could say is a maturity thing for sure.
Listen, have I been late to work because of a fire? Yeah.
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
even when I was a young kid, when I was a stock person at the drugstore in town, like, you know, or I was landscaping. You know, sometimes, you know, you had a job at 4 or 5 in the morning, you didn't get home on time, you could a little late. That's a different story.
Yeah.
But if it's a regular basis, now you got a problem. There's
I
something wrong.
I
You
would
need
say
to grow up.
to
You
the
need to grow
person who sent this in, maybe if you're not in like an officer's position or something like that, like, and you notice that these younger kids are struggling and losing their job, so to speak, maybe you can sit down with them and explain to them, hey, this comes secondary to your job and your family and school, whatever it is. Like, you don't want to put yourself in a bad position where you're kicking yourself a couple of years down the line because you got so
You
obsessed with it.
might not be in the valleys anymore.
Yeah,
you know,
or
because
that
of it.
too.
You know, you don't want that to happen either.
Yeah. And the last one I have is, how should someone bring up BOCES offering firefighter 1 to their school district in New York State? This is coming from somebody upstate.
How
New York.
should the district bring it to the school?
Yeah, or
Yeah,
this
you'd have-
this person in particular.
You probably
was-
have to submit it through the Board of Education, or, you know, that would probably be the way, you know, your administrative staff.
I'd say maybe...
It's
where
from
the-
the fire department would have to submit it to.
Yeah, I would submit it to, you know, the administration of that school district. You know, the Board of Education would probably have to approve it, or, you know, BOCES itself, you know, but to
might
see.
pull some weight if he
Yeah.
runs it up the ranks. Have the chief approach the school.
Yeah, it's like a recruitment strategy almost. Because we've noticed a couple people have reached out saying that, like, their areas do that. Like, they offer this program in BOCES.
Yeah, COPEC's doing it.
I was just gonna say Copeg
Yep.
just started doing it. So
If you would have told me I could do that in high school, me and my friends would have been all over.
Oh,
it.
I would have
yeah,
been.
100%.
Yeah, I would've done
You're
it.
telling me that instead of going to the fire academy after school, I can just do it in school, and then I can hang out at the
Oh,
fire.
I'm not even. I'm talking about 1st through 5th period. I can go play fireman.
Oh, yeah,
and then
yeah.
go back to school.
Oh,
But even
100%.
EMS, you know, I mean, they just did, you know, the juniors on the island here, you know, they've had, you know, junior days and
Yep.
stuff like that, and they're having these competitions, and, you know, they're doing all these classes and stuff, which I think is awesome, that, you know, they're going through this stuff, you know, summertime or whatever. But it's a good way to reach out,
For sure.
get things done.
Where you're, you bought some props. Did you want to show them all?
I got some props, yeah. I mean, we can
Kevin-
talk about some stuff.
Kevin's got some old props here. So
He keeps
Well,
them on
you know,
his-
we've
on
been
his
talking a
nightstand.
little bit about history, you know, whether it was the history of the volunteer fire service of, you know, New York City. You know, Glenn here used in last week, he was talking about history and older rigs and stuff like that. And, you know, so it just got me to thinking, you know, like, it's good to know the past to move forward, right? And we should learn from the past. You know, I bring up a lot about CDC, NIOSH reports, line of duty deaths, firefighters close call, Billy Goldfeder. You know, there's a lot of incidents and things that happen out there, and some people just blow them off. Like, they don't care, they don't want to read on it, or they don't want to see. But you got to look at some of these recommendations. You got to look at why people died. We shouldn't be repeating the same things over and over again. And we do. Unfortunately, we do. There was a firefighter yesterday, Fort Worth, Texas. They had a
is it the collapse?
yeah,
I
garage
saw
fire.
that.
They're going in with the line. There was a collapse. I guess 2 firefighters were pinned. You know, and then they had to get them out. You know, luckily nobody got killed, but people got hurt. But, you know, like, when things like this happen, like, we should be looking at why that happened. What happened at that garage collapse? You know, in usually wood frame buildings, it's more of a localized collapse, not a full. I don't think that was a fully
That video
wood
was a
frame.
little strange. It like switched over. Like, you didn't
Well,
see the
it's from
actual
across the
collapse.
street. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
but
it's,
it looked like it was the collapse. You didn't see when the collapse happened.
Right, but like, was it a block walls with wood frame, ordinary construction roof? Was it block walls with truss constructed roof? Was it, open in the garage to the attic area? Like, there's so many factors when you start looking at this stuff and you just say, well, it collapsed. Well, why did it collapse? What happened? Where were they? Were they in the garage? Were they outside the garage? Did it fall towards them? Like, when these things happen, like, how do we learn from it? How do we try to avoid that from happening again or getting somebody hurt? Because somebody could have got killed.
Right.
So, we should always try to look back and say, where have we come? Why are we here? So, sometimes people say, and they talk about gear. I'm a big believer in gear. I talk about this a lot. You need to read the labels inside your gear, and it'll tell you how it provides you limited protection, your gear. It's not a Superman suit. But, you should wear your gear to the hilt. You should wear all of it. And, some people, oh, it's too hot. It's this and that. Well, your gear is rated to a certain extent, right? There's thermal protection and there's breathability, without getting into I'm not going to get into all the temperature ratings and all this other crap. But there's a balance. So you got to decide, do I want more thermal protection or do I want more breathability? So usually the firefighters down south a little bit use lighter colored gear because it's hot, because of the sun, and they want their gear to have a little more breathability rather than more thermal protection. So
Doesn't that barrier of air protect you?
Every bit of air pocket is a help. Like, if you remember going in the flashover simulator, right? You were in there, and like you could feel it right around the straps where your gear is compressed.
But you don't maybe feel it like right here.
Correct, because there's a lot more air pockets in between. So when you have compression, right, you're going to feel the heat quicker because there's no air barrier, right? So, when people talk about gear and what they wear and how they do all this stuff, you want that air barrier and you want some sort of breathability, but you also need serious thermal protection. So there's a lot to it. So it's up to your department, your district, or whoever to decide where is that balance and what do I want. It's not like, people look and they say, well, that gear looks cool, or I like that gear, or they wear it because I'm going to wear it. That shouldn't be your answer. You should be doing a good representation of why you want that particular gear and justify how you're going to do it. So it's not just buying gear off a shelf. There's so many factors to it. Different materials, different colors, there's so many different things. Like, for instance, a lot of chiefs wear white gear. Okay, right? You see chiefs with white gear. We got away with it. We got away from it in my department. We did it for years. I wore a white coat when I was chief. The white gear does not give you the same thermal protection as the black. It's a different material. So we said, why are we giving these guys that could be searching around in a building, by themselves, getting their first due with something that's lighter protection than this? So we all let you
Which was
wear black
probably
gear.
more so for a uniform purpose, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
you got to look at your factors. Is it safe? What's safer, right? And chiefs, if you get there, especially around here, the chiefs usually get there first. They're going in doing a surge or whatever. There was some firefighters upstate New York in I don't want to get this wrong, New Abbott, I believe it was. But they went and did a search and actually had to use the bailout systems to get out. They got trapped, and they, we had them at the Joey D seminar last year. We brought them down to talk about their story because they were saying that the bailout system saved their life. And there's guys that don't wear the bailout system. They fake it. They put gloves in their pockets instead of the rope, or they make it look like they have a system on and they're not wearing it. Like, shame on you if you're doing that. I hate to say it. I know it's added weight and stuff.
I mean, if you're putting
if your
fucking
department
gloves
has it,
in besides the rope, like, you're still wearing it.
Yeah.
You might as well just have
carry
the
the
rope.
rope.
you might as well just carry the rope. So, whatever, but I've seen all those different things. The thing is, like, we should learn from our history. We should make ourselves better every day. So I just brought some of old gear and some old tools just to show you where I started from and where we are now. And why do we wear bunker gear? It's because people got burnt up. People got hurt. And, the FDNY switched over in 1994 because a couple firefighters got trapped and got burnt up and were killed. So, they were talking about it a while. They finally did it. But anyway.
So the tool that Kevin's going to grab right now is a bucket.
Yeah.
Because Kevin started with the bucket brigades.
I'm not that old.
Didn't really need to put the shit behind the couch, but all right.
Yes. These are not my boots, though.
Killer boots, man.
Somebody comes out from behind the couch.
Yeah, right. They were just fucking laying down the entire episode waiting for it.
Yeah, but we've come a long way with the gear that we have. So we used to have these pull-up boots and stuff. They were just rubber, nothing fancy, but
Were these yours, or these were?
These weren't mine.
These are props.
Oh, styling.
yeah, we used to.
Watch, next year at the fucking VMAs, somebody's going to come walking in with those.
Yeah,
Cool
right.
stuff,
Style.
right?
Yeah. It's the new style, new trend.
Oh, I put them on wrong feet. How about that?
Wow.
Wow. I'm an idiot. Embarrassing. Not even paying attention. And they still fit. That just shows you they have
Dust
no
boot.
real barrier. But yeah, so we used to walk around with a boots, and then we just had a regular coat. It was really no big deal. But it's just a simple liner inside of it and an outer jacket, and that was it. So, most people just walked around with their coat and their boots. And,
Kevin's been
put it all
dying
on.
to do this.
It smells, it's old. But that was it.
Ryan, you got to get a picture of him with this fucking boots on.
There's no hoods, there's no funky stuff, and then, a leather helmet, and. But, we've come a long way of what we have, what we do, why we have it. These boots, you go into a fire, you pull them up
Oh shit.
and protect your legs, and you hoped your coat would do this. But when you were down and squatting around or crawling around,
stinks.
it does stink.
I don't smell it.
But when you were out around and crawling around and stuff, like you were all open. So, you could only go so far in a fire. You couldn't go that deep. We're going a lot deeper now.
So what do you, like, if you were wearing what you're wearing now, the shorts, like,
Well, you didn't.
that's
wear
what you probably didn't
shorts.
wear shorts.
People did.
Well,
but,
shorts didn't come out till 2002, so.
Yeah, that's why, this is it. So, like, you squat, it's all open underneath.
Yeah, no, that's crazy.
But that's really it in a nutshell. Here, I mean, like, you think of how far we've come.
Nobody asked him to do this, by the way.
You know what this reminds me of? Elementary school, when the fucking when the fireman comes in.
In elementary school. But we've come a long way, and people, nowadays you get your bunker gear, and you like wear it or you leave it open. It's hot, this and that. People died, and that's the reason we have bunker gear.
Right.
There's a lot of things that we have in the fire service that are because people died or people got really seriously hurt.
When did they stop with the boots? You said that was
Well,
early-
FDNY switched in '94.
So it was the 90s they went to.
Yeah, my department, I think we switched in '92 or '93 from that to bunker gear.
So it's really not that old.
That's what
like
I'm
it's
thinking.
not
No.
that far away.
It's really not that old if you think about it.
That goes to show like how far like building materials have come, that like fires burn so like in only the last 20 years. Like shit's been going on fire since someone invented fire in 1950.
There'll always be fire. Listen, there'll always be fires. There may
for
not
sure.
be as many. There may be more fire protection, more, but it's not going to be what it was.
But like what you mentioned, how quickly nowadays fires are flashing over compared to back in the day, you wouldn't be able to do shit with that in a fire that is going to flash within just a few minutes. Like if you're exposed like that.
You just
Yeah,
have to
well, I
lay on
mean,
the floor.
I was wearing gear just like this. We had a private house fire. It was actually like a block from my house, but we responded in, and we didn't have hoods. All you did was you pulled down the flaps on your helmet, you put up your collar, and you hope for the best.
Right.
And we went in with a line. The backup line came behind us. Some fire wrapped around the left side, so they started pushing it to the left, and it came back at us. And the fire just raced right at us. And, a bunch of us, we had, myself, Joey D., Joe Loretz, like 4 of us, all got burns to our ears and the side of our neck.
I was just
from
thinking
that. Because
like,
we didn't have, we all wore jeans, so you had some protection. But, when that thing flashed and came around, I mean, there's really nothing.
I remember an old timer told me that was how they knew back in the day that it was time to get out, was when your ears started burning.
Yeah, when you started feeling heat, like
Yeah.
you knew, like
never-
you would use the reach of the stream as best as possible. You didn't go as deep, but like everything's hotter now. The
Yeah.
smoke is hotter. The heat above your head is hot. And I'm not saying it wasn't hot. It was hot back then too. I mean,
sure.
the plastics really started developing in the '80s and late '80s and early '90s. I mean, we were going to fires and we were having flashovers,
I mean, I'm just saying, like, you were
But we
talking about the
didn't-
garden,
we didn't have hoods.
the garden apartment fire, and I've talked about this on the show before. With my hood on, in that garden apartment fire, it flashed.
Yeah,
and I, like, before it flashed, I fucking felt my ears burning through my hood.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, we gotta go.
Yep.
So
that happened to me. Same place, garden apartments. I
Yeah.
thought I didn't have my hood on,
ooh, yep.
and I tucked myself in a corner, and I'm going like this. I'm like, what? I'm like, am I not wearing this shit? And I just pulled down the hood in the back of my helmet, and I was like, and it actually helped.
Yeah,
for
you
those
feel a
that-
difference. But, I mean, I got caught in a flashover. I was wearing my gear all properly. Literally, the side of my hood was charbroiled. It was charred through, my face piece crazed, and the stripes and everything melted off my coat. You could see the outline of my SCBA. My flashlight strap actually, when I came out, it fell off of me because it just melted right through the
So
strap on
you
my
actually
chest.
got, like, very lucky.
I got very lucky. And I came out and, one of the guys was right at the top of the stairs. He's like, "You're on fire," and he's patting me out, But
fire.
I got fried up pretty good, and
Sheesh.
I came out with no burns.
That's-
I felt the heat. Believe me, I felt the
You were
heat.
probably that close to.
Yeah, I mean, you got basically 20 seconds, and the thing flashed on me. I was going down a hallway.
This is where out here,
It
or
was in the city, but I turned around quick and came out on my stomach, and it was that fast, and it didn't seem as bad when I first went in there, but it was that fast that it just conditions
Right,
changed.
right.
So that happens, but even out here, I got burnt a couple times. I've been caught pretty close, but the thing is if you're wearing your gear properly, for the most part, you're pretty well protected. But it only gives you limited protection. It doesn't give you the guarantee that you're going to survive.
Well, and then the opposite of that too is with the new gear, we tend to spend a little bit more time in hotter conditions.
Yes, we go and push ourselves. We go deeper, especially during search, because especially with the camera now, with the gear, you can push yourself that much further.
Right.
But you got to be very careful. And
Well,
same
that's what I'm
thing-
saying. Like, you got to be careful about
You
it
have to
too.
be
'Cause
very
some
careful.
people push a little bit too far because they're not feeling anything yet.
Correct. And if you start feeling it, it's probably already too late.
Right. Yeah.
So I got some more toys.
I just always, in my head, if I'm going in, I'm like, I just always know my way out. I'm like, no matter what could happen right now, if I went left, right, left, I know that's how I just got to
Oh,
get back
yeah.
out. Like, I never try and get myself in a situation where I just you should never do this, but don't know where you are. Like,
Yeah. I mean,
You should always know where you're going.
Yeah.
Where you are.
so let's see the hook that you got, because that kind of leads into the actual Halligan.
Yep. So this is an original claw tool. That's what it was called. Pretty heavy, pretty big. It's about 4 feet, but it's got a big hook on the top. It's got this notch on the back. That's your pivot point. So whether you put this in a lock and then bend it back and over, you can pop it. And then it's also got the fork at the end, down on the bottom here. So this is a legit claw tool. The folklore of this tool is the FDNY responded to a fire in a bank that somebody had broken into, and they found this on the floor, or something very similar to this. And they decided that if somebody could use this and break into a bank, it'd be pretty good to break into buildings when we're going to fires. And that's where this came from. So it's a pretty neat tool, but it is an original out of my collection here.
what did they weld, like a company thing on there?
Yeah, it's on there. But there are Halligan bars now. Firehooks Unlimited sells. They sell the Pro Bar,
Holy fuck.
the Pro Bar Halligan.
Yeah, the long one.
Well, it's like this. It's a Halligan, but it was developed off the original Halligan, the Pro Bar. But Firehooks Unlimited sells that, and they sell them in different sizes, from 18 inches for an officer, 18 to 24 inches, to 30 inches to 36 inches, even to 4 feet. That size, you can get a Halligan tool, which is great for roof work, stuff like that. But that basically tool, Hugh Halligan in I want to get this right, 1948. Hugh Halligan, he was the chief in New York City, developed the Hugh Halligan tool. So it's kind of looks like the ones that we use nowadays, but it is actually a little different. So the fork is very straight and it's short. The adze on the top is flat, it's not hooked, and then you have your pike, which is like our normal pike. So when the Pro Bar was developed, they put a little hook into the adze a little bit, and they curved the fork at the bottom. But this is an original. It says Hugh Halligan on it.
What's interesting to me about these, because like when you do 4th century, especially with new guys, you got to really explain to them
The parts of it, how it works, and
like
why.
when you're forcing a door and you have the fork end in, like the bend in the fork end,
concave side.
Yeah, use it to your advantage or
Leverage.
Exactly. That's what I'm looking for.
Yep.
Same deal with the adze end of
It's
it.
like simple machine stuff.
Yeah, so it's like what's interesting to me is like they realized as they were using this tool, like, hey, this tool's great. It would be great if we had a bend in either side, because all you need is that little
bit
leverage.
more. And, listen, you can...
This thing says Hugh Halligan?
You could put a chock behind it. You can put an axe blade behind it. There's a lot you can do to them to gain more additional leverage.
How old is this thing? This is one of the originals?
Yeah, it's one of the originals. But, when you really look at it, leverage has gone back to the Stone Ages, basically.
Yeah.
Right? They've used levers and levers and everything else and
Spelled with
ramps.
2 L's.
And
see most.
and ramps and everything else in order to build, the Great Pyramids and everything else. Like, you can go back in time of using leverage and force to get things done. And if you know how to use leverage properly, you can do so much more, so much easier. You don't have to beat the crap out of everything if you know how to use it properly.
Right.
So, going back to the history of tools and how they work and why we've developed, and I was going to bring a regular Halligan too. We got enough show and tell here today. But learning why and how this got developed. Now, when Hugh Halligan developed that, the FDNY wouldn't buy them.
Yes, that's right.
So, that's one of the history things that's very interesting.
I think it was Boston, right? Wasn't
Boston was the first
city?
fire department to actually buy them as a whole and put them on their rigs. But they didn't want any conflict, and the FDNY still doesn't want conflict of interest. There's a lot of firemen that develop a lot of neat stuff,
Yep.
and patents and everything else, and you got to be very careful that you're not buying from this guy just because he's this guy. He's from the fire department. But so companies would actually raise money or chip in and buy the tools themselves. So a lot of companies did that until eventually they got a contract or they sold it through somebody else in order to buy them.
Right.
But it's an interesting history piece. And then, Bob Farrell and Firehooks Unlimited, they have the Pro Bar and all the other tools that they've developed over time off of these tools.
Yeah,
now
there's
Paratech
so
has one.
many renditions of these.
Oh, yeah.
Just a regular axe, like you said before, the pig.
I'll tell you, don't buy a three-piece Halligan. You're gonna break it.
It's gotta be a
better that it's
cast,
forged like this one piece, and they'll last forever.
Isn't the pig just a little Halligan or something?
Yeah, the pig. But there's a lot of combinations and stuff out there. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we can use. You should understand it. You should understand history behind it and why, and that will help you be a better firefighter and be able to get the job done.
Yeah, because you'll understand why the things changed, and it'll help you use the current tool that you had. Like a lot of what I was saying before about the 4th century shit, a lot of it isn't that people don't know how to use the tool, especially like a new person. It's just the way it looks. They think that you'll get better leverage a certain way, where it's like, no. If you understand kind of how they changed it, then you'll understand that
Why,
leverage, and that'll help you as you go and force doors or whatever. Understand it better.
The other side of that too is, I think we're getting into a stage almost where we feel we know and we don't know. And reason being is all these great forcible entry doors are out there. Everybody's buying them. Long Island departments have, some of them have 2 or 3 of them. I know there's people across the country that can't afford them. But, they're out there and people practice on them and they do it once and they're like, yeah, I got it. All right, let me tell you something. Doors are not going to react the way that door does.
Right.
That's solid steel. Unless you have a prop where you're using a real door, where you put the real door into the forcible entry prop, doors crush, doors bend. It depends on how many locks they have. It depends on if there's stuff behind it. There's so many factors when you deal. Wood doors react different than metal doors. There's metal doors that are hollow in the inside. There's wood doors that are hollow in the inside. There's so many different factors. Or maybe even the frame. You know, there are times where, you know, like let's just say a hotel. I go into a hotel, you know, and people batter these doors down. You know, a lot of those have sheetrock next to it. I could pop a hole in the wall and reach in and unlock the door rather than beat the shit out of the door. So,
Probably
you know,
metal stud and sheetrock.
yeah, I mean, listen, it's good practice sometimes to get out there and do this stuff, but there are other ways to make entry that's quicker and faster. So, you know, don't always rely. You should practice a lot. You know, don't just do it once or twice. Try different materials in your door. Don't just force a piece of wood. Force multiple pieces of wood, or wet the wood, make it harder, or use PVC. You can use PVC in those doors where it starts to stretch out like a door would or a lock would. You know, so you got to challenge yourself. Don't just think that you bang through a door once and you've got it, because I'm telling you, you don't. And you could go to some fires in bigger buildings. You might not have them in your district. You may go mutual aid to one where you might have to force 6, 7, 8 doors, not just one. So you got to be able to use the leverage, be able to size it up and do it properly, and be able to do multiple doors, not just one.
Right.
So, so do a little research, do a little history study, learn different techniques, watch some videos out there, and go out there and try it. And if you can get your hands on a actual building that you can use real doors to force, you should get out there and do it.
Yep. We had the same Hyatt that I brought up before. I forget what it was. We had to evacuate an entire floor, whatever floor it was. The rabbit tool is my favorite force entry tool. If you're going to grab a Halligan, you might as well throw that thing on your shoulder too, because it's just like.
Yeah, we used to keep it in the same compartment as the irons.
Yep.
Pop the compartment open, irons are there, rabbit tools right there. Sling it over, grab the irons, and
Just don't get false sense of security. Once again, I'll tell you this, because you know, if you're not testing your rabbit or bunny tool correctly, you have to put it under pressure. You can't just crank it and put it away. It might crank and has no force.
Yeah.
So now you carry it up there and you're like, oh, I'm going to use the rabbit tool because I've done this 1,000 times that way.
The seal shot.
Doesn't work.
Doesn't work.
Seal's broken. It's leaking. Whatever. Now you're resorting to the Halligan and the axe, and you haven't done it in a long time. So, you know, always have that backup plan. Like, really, the saw doesn't work. You got to be able to use an axe properly. And most people don't train people to use axes properly.
Right.
So practice makes perfect.
All right.
Cool.
Well, I think that wraps up 32. Kev, thanks.
Episode 32. Sign up for the Joey D seminar if you want to come out.
Plug that.
Yeah, we'll plug it again.
Yep.
You know, also elevators is a big thing. Before we get off, I just thought about it. Mike Dragonati, we were texting today. He's running an elevator class at the Joey D, and we're doing it at Stony Brook University. We're going to do a 1-day on Saturday. It's a full-day class. But Mike charges a lot of money for these classes. We're doing it relatively cheap. And, you know, everybody goes to elevators. I'm telling you, they're everywhere now. My department had one yesterday or the day before. You're going to go to an elevator emergency. Mike is the best in the business. You should go out there and learn from him and his guys. His guys are phenomenal.
What's that, Dragon Rescue?
Yeah, Dragon Rescue. Mike Dragonati and his team do a great job. The good thing about doing it with us at Stony Brook University is they have every type of elevator there.
Oh, nice.
So you get to see them all. You'll see a cable-driven, you'll see a piston, you'll see the hydros, you'll see it all. So, you know, if you're thinking of taking an elevator class, I would suggest you sign up for that class and come out, because it's going to be well worth the money for you.
Awesome.
Yeah. I'll put all the links for this episode. Joey D links.
Yeah. Excellent.
All right.
That's a wrap. Episode 32.
Catch you guys next week.
Roll it.
Roll it.
Awesome.
All good, Rye?